Gentlemen, in the earlier session, we had a look at the development model and the procedures that are there. Now, let's get on to session 4, and we look at the additional procedures as envisaged in the draft DAP 2026. So let's go back to the flow chart, what I showed right at the initial stage. The center one is additional procedures, and these additional procedures are divided into the long-term bulk acquisition, leasing, fast track procedure, which has been very successful in the previous years, and a new chapter that has been introduced with the lowest cost capital acquisition, an empowering chapter, I must say. Then the other capital procurement procedures, which is basically capability maintenance. And the strategic partnership model, I would like to see it under a different head, the importance of it, but notwithstanding that, it has been included into the additional procedures in the draft DAP 2026.
Under the delegated powers prior to undertaking large-scale procurement. Maximum limit, like I told you, 75 crores. Take a small amount. However, the small amount is subject to an overall ceiling of 2,000 crores across the service per year. That means 2,000 crore worth of low-cost capital acquisition when given at small bits of 75 crore that include the Indian Coast Guards. It can't cross 2,000 crores. Now, if it is being procured through the alternate procedure, whether in capital or revenue, then it is not eligible for the LCCA. That's what I said. I want it to be increased to other procurement categories also. It's a beautiful system that has been conceptualized in DAP 2026. Procurement process is by empowered committee, headed by a 2-star. Much more easier to do it. It's nominated by headquarter ideas as well as by the SHQ also, for SHQ cases, for the tri-service cases by the ideas. And in this, sumoto cases or single vendor proposals can be entertained. And you can go through, like I said, it's published in the DRDO portal, 30 days for giving a reply, and thereafter a competitor will come in. But the advantage of this is the first right shall be to the sumoto case, the first right. That even if he was coming as L2, he can come as L1 if he can bring down his price to L1. Only equipment under the Buy IDDM category and Buy Indian Manufacturer in India category should be procured in this procedure and no other equipment. Track of the 2,000 crores. Overall, the operational requirement is done by the SHQ. The empowered committee identifies, based on the availability, operational imperatives and sumoto proposal, is the empowered committee that is doing it. And the minimum order quantity is worked out as to what the orders are going to be given. In case of the import cases, the approval of the DAC is mandatory. However, the statement of case for alternate procurement through the development route has to accompany it if you're going to a foreign country. Somebody wants to go to a foreign country, I'm sorry, include that also. DAC will take the necessary decision to it, should you go foreign or not. And this is processed by the empowered committee to the services procurement board. EON will also include the minimum order quantity that you have to procure, the product support completely through the life cycle, also complete the comprehensive maintenance support also. The requirement of the limited validation trial, complete the demonstration. You're not going through the complete FET. It's a limited validation for certain attributes and the demonstration. And the validity that I pointed out is 2 months. Now, 2 months is the validity of the EON, otherwise it is going to lapse until the time it comes in. It's a challenge to meet. RFP and the TEC, the RFP is to be issued out within 6 weeks. And the evaluation is in 2 stages. It's a technical evaluation of the bid and followed by limited validation and the demonstration only, and nothing more than that. It shortens the complete procedure to an enormous amount of extent. No longer 2 climate, 2 terrain, etc., repeated trials. TEC is approved by the SHQ, which is normal. TNC is as normal procedure. There would be a splitting of order, if at all it is there in the EON, and it holds good that the L2 has to meet the price of the L1 should he be given the order. Otherwise, he cannot be given the order. Contract is signed within 4 months of the EON. Everything has to be completed within 4 months. Shorter incubation time, even if you have taken loans for it, mortgage your property for it, 4 days time, 4 months time, you will start getting the money back in some form or the others in terms of the advance. If more than one vendor has been shortlisted, sumoto vendor has the first right. We talked about it. Deliveries have to be completed in 9 months. Now that is a challenge for the industry. If you do not have your production line ready, you can forget about it. You wanted the spike Mazai from Kras, Kalyani Rafael. At the time when you wanted it, the production line were not there. You had to take ex-stock Israel military, not Israel government. It is military, not ex-stock Rafael. The military, because the production lines were not ready. It's all figurative. You can't put production line overnight. It's not possible. Trained manpower, materials, machinery, next to impossible. So you have to have this available. Post-exploitation, the exploitation will carry out. The SQR is to be there within 1 year of the delivery of the first amount. You have to produce an SQR. And thereafter process it for the purposes of bulk procurement. It has to be under the buy procedure. So within 1 year of the first tranche, you are going to get the bulk procurement. I think it's a major issue for the domestic industry. All the cribs of finances, bottled end, bleeding of pockets, all has been taken away from this. I would like this to be pushed into all procurement categories. If it can be done for this, why can't it be done for the others? But it can only take it if the defense industry makes it successful. If it makes it successful, people maybe think about it in 2030. Okay, long-term bulk acquisition. High-tech, capital-intensive, long-term bases are required for regular upgrades and progressive indigenization can be carried out in this. Very important thing that is there. Procurement will be in multiple tranches. First, AON will say the complete amount. Thereafter, you can take procurement in multiple tranches. So while you've taken the AON for the first tranche, in subsequent amount, you don't have to keep going for a very detailed kind of a thing. Only is that the amount of number that you're taking, X of total amount that is there has to be declared, so that the total number is not exceeded. SQR can be upgraded tranche-wise. We saw that in the development program that was there. The FET will only be there for the first tranche. That means the detailed kind of a field evaluation only for the first tranche. For the second one, that whatever is the upgraded portion and the related portion, which may have effect on related portion, so limited validation trials shall be carried out on that, on the upgraded portion. The indigenous content can also be increased in first one is 30, 40, 50, 60, etc. You could have two vendors, L1 and N2, competitive selection will be there, and for subsequent tranches, the commercial quote shall only be given to the same vendor which was there in the first tranche. It's not new entries coming in. New entries are not allowed into it. Whoever did it in the first tranche will get further orders to it. He's got commitment of orders that are there over a longer period. A bulk acquisition is a longer period, will sustain that industry for a longer time. Past successful in the previous years. I think a lot of it is talked about. It basically where the timelines of normal procurement are being impinged very seriously. So therefore, you have to go in for fast track. You have to procure it. The procurement could be from the Indian vendor or it could be from a foreign vendor. We look at procurement only from foreign vendor. It could be from the Indian vendor also. It is under the buy scheme. It also covers the leasing or the intergovernmental agreement or the G2G route that may be there, because IG is only with USA, the G2G also. It is for the indigenous sources as well as ex-import. And wherever there is a detailed requirement of kind of a field evaluation trial or even limited validation trial, the equipment is not supposed to be procured through this kind of a procedure. The empowered committee may have the mandate to go and witness demonstration of the equipment, but no validation trials are supposed to be conducted in this. The equipment is either in service, so it could be that is already in service. You could invoke the option clause or the repeat order. Option clause is already invoked into the RFP, in which the vendor is meant to give it at the same cost of the first procurement, or the repeat order, up to 100% of the first order, for which the negotiations for the second order and the price can change. However, the negotiations, as even the repeat order, has to be as per the last purchase price. It could be a vendor which has not given the order in the first one because he was L2. However, he's qualified in the trials. Or it could be that it is a new vendor because the old vendor is not available. Normally, it should be given to the old vendor. It could be a new equipment, totally new equipment that you're taking in, or it could be equipment that are in service or even which were in service, no longer now, in a foreign country. It could be X his stock, or it could be X his fresh procurement. Pike were taken, X stock. All taken equipment will follow the fast track procedure. Single equipment up to 15 crore and multiple equipment up to 30 crore. There is a technical coordination group at the NSCS, and AUN has to be taken as per the mod. A small glance at the flow, because they're slightly different. The scaling and the quantity vetting is dispensed with. There is an MOQ put over there, and the AIP is given by the service chief. Once he gives them, the procedure starts off. Now, in case this equipment is not listed in the AAP, majority of the time it's not listed in the annual acquisition plan, the Defense Procurement Board has to be approached, which is up to 500 crore, and the TAC above that, above 500 crore, previously you had to put the TAC for it. Defense Acquisition Council affects body, headed by the Raksha Mantri. So, now you can do it at the lower level and you can feed it on. Validity of this is 2 months. Whenever you go for this, the statement of case for indigenous procurement has to be put in when you're going to the foreign. The Indian partner, no problem. But the foreign, you have to put in for Indian things also. Now the SHQ, the SQR may be going through the SCPC or may not. You can go through it without going through the SCPC and going through the complete procedure of vetting of the complete SQRs. Solicitation of the offer is done. What is more importantly, it is processed by the SHQ within 10 days of the UN approval after the DAP. And the single state two big system which is followed, he gets 4 weeks to do it, extendable by 2 weeks plus 2 weeks. By the SHQ and by the DG acquisition, nothing more than that. Thereafter, he has to reply. So timelines are very tight in this. Technical evaluation. Normally, the benchmarking committee I already told you about. The empowered committee is there. In this, no trial evaluation is carried out. May visit the vendor's premises for demonstration of limited validation trials if required in very selected things, which is more a form of demonstration. The empowered committee can also be empowered in case it's only to see the equipment, the multi-delegation team that goes in, but in case there's fully empowered committee for the purpose of negotiating the contract, the finance also comes into it. So the finance body will go in and they will go in and negotiate the contract completely and conclude the contract there itself. TNC will take place only because the empowered committee has not been empowered to negotiate the contract. Now there is an oversight committee. Normally it gives the report in 1 month. Now it has to do it in 2 months, and then you go in for purposes of contract conclusion. Oh, one thing. The delivery schedule of this equipment cannot take place more than 24 months of the contract taking place. That is the period, and therefore it is a fast track approach. Other capital procurement procedures are there. Now, what used to happen, it was there in DAP 2020. Also, you had the revenue route. So, the revenue budget always used to finish off, the capital budget never used to finish off. So, items that were there on the revenue route, things like overhaul, upgradation, maintenance, etc., used to put a little bit of capital budget there. Nothing illegal about it, but the 2 segments of budget there. So the OCPP came into the procedure in DAP 2020, in which the capital budget could be used for certain amount of products, using the revenue procedure, which was supposed to be more faster. Now it being encapsulated in the fact that the procedure has been lowered down in the DAP 2026 as to how you shall go into it. So this is for equipment already inducted into service, or its overhaul, refits, upgrades, refurbishment, modification, and that is why I called it right at that slide, master slide, as capability maintenance. This is the basic category for capability maintenance. Now there is a list that is being included in DAP 2026 has been included. The other capital procurement procedure has to be as per the list promulgated in the DAP. What has been introduced, what is there is that the part D of the AAP, you saw it being there. In the delegated portion, only the total value of this is there. But in the non-delegated portion, you have each item and the pricing cost that would be there, that is being put there. But in the delegated, you just put the bulk figure that is there of the total amount. What has been introduced in the DAP 2026 is the repetitive nature cases which should take place over a period of 5 years. It is encapsulated into it, and this shall take place to the same vendor, to the same person over a period of 5 years. So longer term contract shall be given to the particular vendor. Over the costing and the items that are written there, there is a flexibility. Obviously, when you're going for maintenance, very difficult to stipulate that this much only will be procured and that will be the cost. 25% flexibility is put there. So the RFI and the SQR stage may be dispensed with. Since the equipment is already with you, you already know about it. You can dispense with this, asking the industry as to what it is all about and making SQRs. You already know what it is. The AON, the powers have been there. Most importantly, in the non-delegated cases from 300 to 500 crores, it is on file to the Defense Secretary, and if it is above 500 crores, then obviously it goes to the DPP and thereafter to the DAC. Ex-import cases has to go to the DAC. For the delegated cases goes to the CFA concerned. Now CFA is more than what is the Vice Chief in the Army Commanders and below the MGS, and everybody has got powers to it. We look at it and it can go on file to it in consultation with his IFA. Has to be in consultation with him. UN has been reduced from 1 year validity to 6 months validity, presumably faster in case you do so, and the timeline for the procurement have been reduced to 4 weeks in consonance with the complete thing over there. Now, in relationship to this, the procurement is carried out by the project negotiating committee and not by the CNC, which is the bigger body. The project negotiating committee, basically for the delegated cases, it carries out the complete procurement. The CNC obviously will be there for the bigger cases. Strategic partnership model, a model which was intended to bring in technology into and capability into the military and into the defense industry, sadly has not seen the dawn of the day. Hopefully it will. The major encumbrances, it still remains there. The first is the IPR. It's an issue which troubles us. You've seen this in the media going, and the source code and the algorithm. Rafael will not give the source code for the Rafael. You can forget about it. If you don't have the source code, can you go to strategic partnership model? IPR, if you don't have, can you go to strategic model? But if you procure it, it can't talk to anybody else. It can't talk to EW system, which happens to be from Russia or from America. It can't talk to your missile, which happens to be a Russian missile or a US missile or a Canadian missile or a France-French missile, most probably. If it can't talk, I'm sorry, there's a major problem. It's got its own radar. It does not interface with the EW radar, which is in the air, watching everything AWACS. The AWACS gives to the base station gives to him. Multi-second, the so-called J-17 brings it down. It's not the J-17 is superior. No, it is not. You didn't have the kill chain in order. If you didn't have the kill chain in order, I'm sorry. Whatever you say, you're handicapped. The potential of a single standalone weapon system in today's warfare is degraded when it is not integrated into the complete kill chain. You can forget about it. Even a human being is degraded. They're no longer the Rambo. The Rambo should know where he is. He should be able to talk. He should carry out fire support. He should know where his colleagues are. He should know where the enemy is. He should know what is the best way to the objective. Everything on the thing. If he's not integrated, he's degraded. Even a human being. Machinery, of course, is degraded. So let's go to the partnership model on the subject matter. My personal opinion on the subject, I've said so and very vocally said so. Private partnership in big ticket projects in partnership with the selected foreign OEM. The selection is done by the government, by the MOD. meant to progressively build up. That's what it was in 2020. It still remain there, working towards greater goals of self-reliance, no change. Role of the strategic partner remains the same. He's a system integrator. He's supposed to bring up the complete ecosystem. Not one person can produce a complete system of systems. The complete population of the Indian industry will get into being tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 and supply him the products. Then only we'll be able to build up. The complete ecosystem comes up. So if the contract is going to Bharat Forge, he's got 10 different, not 10, hundreds of different MSMEs, startups, quota industry supplying him the components without which he cannot function. That particular assembly cannot come out. The whole industry comes up with this. It's not only Bharat Forge coming up. I'm sorry, I'm just taking a name. It's my favorite name. Because the man heading it is a fantastic human being. So it enters into relevant tie-ups with the FOEM. It may take place in form of a joint venture, equity partnership, technology sharing, royalty, any other mutually acceptable thing. The issue is that technology has to come in. He has to be the owner of the technology. The role of the OEM is to undertake cooperation to manufacture in India, TOT, hand-holding, support, indigenization, life cycle, complete process. And he is jointly responsible with the strategic partner for the certification and the QA. He is also responsible for giving the acceptance of the government. Indian government obviously will get into G2G arrangement and the IG arrangement to assist this complete process. It's not that he is standalone. Contract take place between the OEM and the SP first. In the understanding of the issue of the shared technology, classified technology, etc. has to be there. Then only they can go in for any kind of a thing. So this is that in the shortlisting, the OEM is carried out first. Actually, simultaneously, but first. And you thereafter, simultaneously, you identify the potential strategic partner. Because the strategic partner has been told that these are the OEMs, this is the one you talk to. You have to talk to the OEM. So the OEM, you've done it, simultaneously doing the strategic partner, and you have to handshake between them. So each product will have an OEM. It may have a number of OEMs. Government to government product, I told you, has to come into it. Otherwise, you cannot go through the complete process. You can't leave it to the strategic partner only to do it. Selection of the strategic partner will be competitive. Normally, only one strategic partner will be per segment. It mentions two. Now, if you were to produce an FMBET, for God's sake, you can't have two, have one. The amount of money he is throwing it into the development is next to impossible. Yes, the production scale of it may warrant two production partners. That is possible. OEM will be jointly responsible for certificate and quality assurance. For SP selection, we have to look at segment-specific infrastructure, skilled manpower, test and evaluation facilities, development and acquisition of relevant technologies is capable, and the ecosystem that is already created. It can't be just off the shelf. You pick up somebody and say that you're going to be a strategic partner. Has to be a main player in the industry. Know who the main players are. Aspirants to being a main player has to prove that he has that with him. It can't be just a person who just come over them. Shortlisting OEM is the scope of TOT. What kind of TOT is it providing? It's not just TOT, just for transfer of technology. It's the range, depth, scope, extent of indigenous content that he's proposing has to be there. How much is he going to manufacture? You allow manufacturers to pick up somebody and say that you're going to be a strategic partner. Has to be a main player in the industry. Know who the main players are. Aspirants to being a main player prove that he has that with him. It can't be just a person who just come over them. Shortlisting OEM is the scope of TOT. What kind of TOT is it providing? It's not just TOT, just for transfer of technology. It's the range, depth, scope, extent of indigenous content that he's proposing has to be there. How much is he going to manufacture? You allow manufacture in India. Ecosystem that is going to be created. And how is he going to support the strategic partner in the integration of the platform, which may be a system of systems? How is he going to trail the skilled manpower? And what is the future R&D that is planned in India? That the strategic partner has to be Indian vendor. We'll come to the definition of the Indian vendor, but what is there is that you can go to the DAC if it's got viable and tangible transfer of technology. Dispensation can be asked by the DAC. For the OEM, it's at the top, you issue the RFP, issue the expression of interest, you carry out the technical evaluation on the complete issues which I told him that he is capable of, and you shortlist the OEM. OEM may be one or two for the particular segment, or three for that matter. For the strategic partner, simultaneously you are issuing the expression of interest. There's a minimum qualification criteria that is laid down for that OEM. Does he satisfy the minimum qualification criteria, technical and financial? You evaluate it, and you carry out a shortlisting of the strategic partner. It may be more than one for each segment. Like I said, desirable to have one only and not more than that, but you would like to have two or more. And you finalize the RFP. Now, at this stage, a handshake between the shortlisted OEM and the strategic partner has to take place, where the negotiations take place between them as to how you will develop this complete project and be able to manufacture in India. And there is a lateral signing of contract between the strategic partner and the OEM. Once it does so, the SHQ will finalize the RFP, EON will be taken, and the RFP will be issued to the strategic partner, not to the OEM. OEM is under him. He signed a contract with him, to the strategic partner. Techno-commercial offer, field evaluation trial, CNC, and contract is the normal procedure. What to understand here, there is an empowered committee under a 3-star, which is there for each strategic partnership model, each project. Now, this is a major issue because it's done at a very high level, usually composed there. Now, you can't expect a strategic partner to be having the complete wherewithal to make an FMBT or a FICV or an aircraft for that matter. You will not have it. So a group of company may come in. That is sort of a joint venture association of partners, association of parties is formed as a group of companies, somebody in electronics, somebody in metallurgy, somebody in ballistics, etc. However, this group of companies are not nominated as strategic partner. It is the strategic partner to whom the RFP, and he is responsible, overall responsible. However, there are FDI restrictions in it, which should be applicable both to the strategic partner as well as to the group of companies, because the strategic partner and the group of companies have to be Indian vendors. We'll come to the definition of that. List of the OEM is the next RFP given to him. He can engage with one or all. But when the proposal has to be given with only one OEM, less helicopters with the multi-segment helicopters, the attack helicopters, the logistic helicopters, etc., which you would have different OEMs specializing in this. Except for that, he will give finally with one OEM there. Now, a manufacturer in the OEM premises only 10 to 15%. The balance has to be in India, in the strategic partner manufacturing plant. And CNC, while he can participate in the CNC, there will be no contract, will only be between the MOD and the strategic partner. However, the thing is there, when there is a tri-party agreement between the joint venture oblique a special purpose vehicle that maybe have been formed in which the OEM is also a partner, it may be a tri-party contract. However, that does not mean the dilution of responsibility of the strategic partner. MOD has the right to terminate the contract, basically when 50% net worth or declared on insolvency is there. The segments for it, like I talked about, the first 4 segments remain the same segment. The niche technology development segment with strategic implication has been added. Now, gentlemen, I'm going to talk about, it used to be a separate chapter. It's been relegated to annexure in the buy. I don't know, putting it as an annexure in the buy encourages it to be developed in the buy, or is it being put into cold storage? I think it is being put into cold storage. And this is what primarily DAP 2020 was intended to do, at least in the ICT, information communication technology projects, automation projects, bring in something known as the L1, T1, and not only L1. You get the lowest technology concerned at the lowest competitive prices, undermining your complete requirement of upgradation of your complete technology. So a cost-based selection system is there in the L1, T1 concept, in which the technical weightage is 60% and the financial weightage is 40%. What is more important is that the technical weightage is given, is assessed first. There is a datum line put. The vendor has to cross the datum line to be able to qualify for the financial consideration. If he doesn't cross the datum line of the technical, he can't get into the thing. It's not only the 60-40. Even the 60/40 will come in only when he reaches the threshold of what has been said, that this is the datum level of technological competence in the complete project that you have been able to achieve. I think this was the best kind of a criteria that was there. There was also an attribute known as the Empowered Committee for Change Control. When this Empowered Committee was formed, that during the transition of the development of the complete project, in which you're carrying out testing, etc., the world is going somewhere else in terms of the technology of the software. And you are still on antiquated technology of the software, which is 10 years old. Not 10 years old, even 2 years old is antiquated. So what changes are to be brought in this, which is feasible? This Empowered Committee was looking at it during the transition of its processing through the complete testing and everything. Not only after the contract has been given, what upgradation is likely to be carried out before the first production model comes into being. Contract has been given, what upgradation is likely to be carried out before the first production model comes into being, or during the production, as to how the upgradation shall be there. I talked about the CRD screen in one project where he wanted to change it into a LED screen, and I ran around with the file for 3 months as a DDG. Then this is the body that was required, and the body is required in all processes, because nothing, no defense equipment is without technology, without anything to do with upgradation of technology. This is what is required for everything. I think by putting it on a back burner, we had major.
So, gentlemen, in this session, that was session 4, we had a look at the additional procedures as given out in the draft DAP 2026. In the next session, that would be session 5, we will have a look at the important provisions that are given in draft DAP 2026. My apologies, because today I'm a little under weather and really have not been very eloquent in my expression. But I think I have got across to you. Thank you till the time we don't meet again. It's been a pleasure to be with all of you. This and earlier sessions that I have taken are available on the YouTube, my Google blog of Knowledge Enabler Defense Procurement, as also my LinkedIn account. I'm also broadcasting to anyone who wants to receive the message. So should you want to receive it, just send it to this number that is listed on this slide, want to receive, and I'll send it directly across to you. And these will only be DAP sessions. I will not be sending anything else and cluttering up your inbox. Do subscribe to my Google blog. It is free, and it encourages me to further go ahead. Do disseminate these videos to people who can utilize it usefully so that maximum can benefit. Do like this post. It's certainly encouraging and it is free. Thank you so very much. Till next time.